The Copenhagen Climate Ministerial marked a pivotal moment in the global effort toward the 2025 United Nations Climate Change Conference to be hosted in Belém, Brazil. Ministers and government leaders from 40 countries gathered in Copenhagen to discuss critical climate issues such as national climate commitments, just transition pathways, adaptation, resilience, and climate finance. The Baku to Belém Roadmap emerged as a key framework for guiding the dialogue and collaboration in the lead-up to COP30. CEO of the 30th Conference of the Parties of the UNFCCC, AnewZ said the meeting was a key step toward COP30. She noted that 21 countries have submitted their climate plans, while others aim to finish by September, highlighting the Amazon's tipping point and last year's passing of the 1.5 degrees Celsius limit. She stressed the need for urgent global cooperation.
We are learning both from Baku, with our colleagues from Azerbaijan, Mr. Babayev. Obviously, we learn also through the Troika from COP28. But for Brazil, this is a really important COP. We should remember that the Climate Convention was born in Brazil in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro. So now we're going around and we will have again COP30 in Belém. So it goes to the full cycle now that we are now implementing the Paris Agreement. It's the first time that we will have a COP after, unfortunately, that we passed 1.5 degrees last year. That was the case. And in the Amazon, that is a tipping point. So
despite challenges, including the withdrawal of one country from the Paris Agreement, she emphasized that 197 nations remained committed to collective climate action. Damilola Ogunbiyi, CEO and Special Representative of the UN Secretary-General for Sustainable Energy for All, spoke about the importance of continuity in climate action. She highlighted the ongoing relationship between the COP30 and COP29 presidencies, pointing to the Baku to Belém Roadmap as a key tool for building on previous commitments. She also called for urgent action, especially given the global challenges facing both developed and developing nations.
In COP29, we had some agreements, basically agreed on the Paris Agreement we'd been waiting for years. So taking that momentum in a time where, frankly, a lot is happening, and seeing that there's still two countries and the Troika with the UAE, who is here as well, so committed, focusing going on to a large developing country as well. As I am from an African country, it is really great to see that we're not just talking about the voices of a global north, we're also really focused on the developing and the emerging economies.
Dr. Dion Travers-George, Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment of South Africa, highlighted South Africa's key role in climate discussions, noting that COP29 showed global commitment to climate action despite geopolitical challenges.
I think if you roll back to before we had, it was pre-COP, before COP29, and then at COP, there was a narrative forming that, we're not sure what the United States is going to do. That was before the election. And what does that then mean? That COP29 will not be successful because the USA is not present. It was not so. In fact, the show carried on going. And I think what that demonstrated is that the mainstream of the world has in fact moved in a particular direction. We've also seen some elections, for example, in Canada and Australia, and it seems that I would like to maybe refer to it as the more sensible approach that you will find is that these are things that the problems facing the world, we need to work together. Multilateralism is very much alive, and we carry on going. And we saw the start of that at COP29, and I think that will carry on going. So yes, absolutely, it will get noisy, and it will get a lot noisier. But I think also, very importantly, what we're learning.
He also stated that Africa is moving in the right direction with clear objectives and agreed with the COP29 president to ignore distractions and stay focused. Turkish Deputy Minister of Environment, Fatma Varank, stressed that climate finance is the biggest obstacle to fast climate action. She explained that developed countries need funds to upgrade their industries, while developing nations need support to access renewable energy and digital technologies for their growing energy needs.
Developed countries need funds to transform their existing systems, while developing countries need access to renewable energy sources to meet growing energy demands. There is also a need for digitalisation to support this technological shift. However, many countries lack the capacity to achieve this on their own. One of the biggest barriers remains the lack of financial support. Developed nations must transfer their capacities to developing or least developed countries. A major decision on climate finance was made at last year's climate summit in Azerbaijan. A global target was set to mobilise $1.3 trillion annually, with $300 billion of that allocated over the next decade to support developing nations. The focus over the past year has been on how to formalise this commitment, particularly through the Baku to Belém Roadmap. We hope to see concrete results at COP30.
The outcomes of the Copenhagen Climate Ministerial reinforce the critical need for urgent collective action as the world moves toward COP30 in Belém, Brazil.